Okay, so it's 4:20 in the afternoon and I'm kind of baked and I was thinking about this and I have trouble keeping a consistent sleep schedule. And what I find talking to people is there's a lot of people like this. And I have a theory. My theory is thus that when we go into space, our astronauts start sleeping on a 29-hour cycle naturally. And as I understand it, Mars has a 29-hour day. And this is one of those things that is a sign that at some point, life jumped from Mars to Earth. At least some sort of intelligent life came here and interbred, I think, with some sort of monkey type things that were here. Or maybe they came here and genetically modified what was here to be closer to them so that their species could live on this new planet. I think that's highly likely at this point, and I put that 29-hour day thing as evidence of it. The thing that I'm going to do is I have some freedom for a while, and I am going to only just go to sleep when I want to sleep and wake up when I want to wake up, and I'm going to track it. And usually when I do this, my sleep schedule spins around the clock. And I'm thinking that if I really tracked this shit, it's probably that I'm awake for 29 hours or it's that the combination of my awake time and my sleep time equals 29 hours. And like on this planet, I can't be awake the full amount of time and sleep the full amount of time on this planet, and it's fucking me up. And my thought is that like people like me, I'm like a genetic weirdo. I think we're like throwbacks. And I think it's not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. It's just a thing. And I think it's worse for us. And I think Matt is one of these too. I think whatever these things were that came here, they were hyper fucking intelligent. And I think our species now is actually starting to evolve into its next form, whatever the fuck that is. I think we are feeling the effects of that right now. Like, go watch the X-Men movies and just know that you live in the age of the X-Men. Like, shit's happening. I don't know exactly what, but like people are changing. And I think maybe some of this COVID shit and some of this like COVID vaccine shit is to keep you from fucking mutating or some shit. Like there's something going on a level with like the planet and the aliens and shit. And like the people in charge are desperately trying to keep fucking control or something. Like this is where this line of thought leads me. Like if you think different, let me know. But like I know some of this sounds ridiculous. I will admit many of the things that I talk about I would say are ridiculous. But at this point, I'm looking at the ridiculous with a skeptical eye because a lot of ridiculous shit has come to be known to be true. And the one that got me really going on this was it was pretty much shown to me that animal human hybrids are real and have been real since the 90s, and that they are fixing to have an entire medical industry based around harvesting organs from these things because now they're starting to get to a mature age to do that. And I know that sounds fucking crazy. Welcome to fucking 2022. This is the sci-fi nightmare that you always wanted. Go buy a fucking FAL and some garden seeds and shit. Like shit's getting dark. Like the reason I say an FAL or whatever or G3 or AK or anything like that, I would get something from the 1950s and 60s that was, made to fight for a long time in Africa. Because like all of those guns that I just mentioned are guns that still see service in militias in Africa after being used there since the 50s. And I'm not talking about they've been using the FAL since the 50s. I've been saying that exact rifle has been in the hands of a man shooting people in Africa since the 1950s, and it continues to soldier on. And like that's why I bought the FAL. I think a G3 is a good gun too. I think an M14 could be passable. Depends on which one you get. This shit's important, and the reason why I'm saying those kind of guns is because, like, as a prepper, that gun is a more capable platform to just do things with than an AR. Like, if you're only gonna have one gun, if you're gonna have a bunch of guns, get a bunch of ARs, get a bunch of fucking 308s, get a bunch of everything, right? But if you're only gonna have one or two guns, I would get a 308 semi-automatic of some sort, an AR-15 of some sort, and like a 9mm PCC of some sort for your rifles. And then like shotguns are a whole different topic and whatever, right? And now we're just kind of talking about guns and not a 29-hour day. So I'm going to circle back. But this is the thing is I think those of us that are like this from Mars, like Mars was always associated with warfare in ancient times. I don't know exactly why that is, but like if you look at me and Matt and many of us that are like this, we're kind of some war people. Like we all like the Punisher and shit. And like I think the reason why this is so prevalent in this little section of the gun community is because we're all a bunch of fucking aliens or whatever. Not really, but like it's like you like certain things, right? You're intelligent, you like defense, you like nerd culture and shit, you like video games. That's how you ended up at Matt. And that's how most of you that are listening to this at this point found me. So, like, you're the tip of the spear in a way. You're like the most fucked up of the most fucked up. Congratulations. I'm your fucked up Charles Xavier. But like in our fucked upness, we have fucking mutant abilities or shit. And like I've seen this in myself, and I'm not talking about like the ability to fucking, shoot mind bullets or some shit. Have laser beam eyes. I'm talking about like when I have adrenaline pumping through my veins, I'm a completely different animal. It's insane. And for those of you that haven't ever experienced that, wait until you do. If you're listening to me at this point, you're probably fucked up in some way and have similar shit to me. Otherwise, you would have stopped listening long ago. And for whatever reason, we're not like everybody else. I don't know exactly why. But I've met people like me. Corey Long and I have a lot of fucking shit in common. And like, this might be some of the Scotch Irish shit because he has some of that shit too, and that's where that comes from. Okay. But honestly, like, what if some of the aliens or whatever landed in fucking Ireland? Because that's kind of what it looks like. Like the Irish people, everyone calls them gingers and say they don't have souls and whatever. They do look like a different fucking species. And that's as someone that like has some red hair and shit and green eyes. Like I'm weird. I have tricolor hair. If you really look at my hair, it looks blonde mostly from a distance or brown, but there's red and black and blonde and brown all mixed into it. And it's weird. Especially my facial hair when I was a guy was 100% this way. Like if I grew a big beard, it had the craziest look to it. And was damn near red. And it's that shit that I'm saying is like it makes me think things about other people that are like that because I'm this way. And I don't know how many of you all are like this too. And like one of the things that I noticed is like when I go to the dentist, it takes a lot of Novocaine. It takes a lot. Like Every dentist I've ever had comments on it. And Corey Long said the same thing. And I'm saying that this is a genetic trait and that Corey and I are probably very distantly related. And like my other theory on this was the whole like Irish Genghis Khan thing. Like maybe there was some dude that raped his way across Ireland and Scotland back in the day, and that's where all of these similar traits come from. But like, what if that dude was one of these people from Mars? That's the thing, is not very many of these people could have come here and done this. Like if 12 dudes landed in the Bronze Age from Mars with, alien weapons and equipment and just decided to, rape their way across the planet, and the genetics are similar enough that they were able to impregnate them and shit, and that's where we get these stories of Nephilim and all this shit in the Bible. And in reality, like the people that wrote down the Bible got bred out and we're all Nephilim now. It's kind of what I think. Tell me what you guys think. What do you think about this whole 29-hour day situation and all this craziness that I said? How much of this do you see as like, oh yeah, that's a distinct possibility, or no, that's just insane? Because that's what I'm trying to use this to filter out here is like, there's a bunch of shit that I have question marks on after lots of research. And I'm reaching out to you guys to be like, I don't know what I think about this anymore. And I'm going to keep making videos like this because, like, I think it's more interesting to talk about the shit I don't know about in some ways, or the shit that I know about that makes me wonder about other shit. And that's kind of what a lot of these videos are. It's like, I know X, Y, or Z. Like, I know there are empty chambers inside the Sphinx that they won't let us see. Why? Like, there's a couple of different ways to get into the Sphinx from the top and the back. And there's, probably one between the paws somewhere too that they just never dug up. There's a lot about the Sphinx that like they probably haven't even dug up, because like the thing nobody understands about Egypt is that shit's everywhere. If you go dig in the desert or whatever, you'll find shit, especially in cities, habitable areas. Go to a habitable area in Egypt and start digging, and you will find artifacts. And I think the real key honey hole that we've yet to find is, I think you map out where the rivers and coasts were in the Ice Age in the Sahara, is I think that used to have an inland seaway, and I'm not the only one that thinks that. That's pretty much agreed on by geologists now, that like somewhere in the last 10, 12,000 years there was an inland seaway that separated parts of Africa. And I think in addition to that, there was a giant river that, I don't know if the flow of the Nile changed or if there were two rivers, but there was a river that went east-west in Africa from about where the Nile starts going out to the Atlantic coast. It's on old maps. It really existed. I'm guessing that it existed 10, 12,000 years ago, but the old maps of Africa were drawn off of old maps of the world that were crumbling and falling apart and shit that no one knows where they came from. Supposedly, like Mercator did a bunch of this, and who knows if we trust Mercator or not, but like these maps are old enough that they don't have a reason to have made this up. It was, they were drawing what they thought they knew. And that's where we should focus. It's not that it's a map of the world, but it's a map of the world of what they thought the world was. And we should examine the why of that. And the only reason they knew anything about Africa was about maps that came from before the Greeks. Nobody really went to Africa much. We had our own troubles to deal with, right? Like the Greeks and Romans interacted with Egypt because they went there and saw the architecture and shit, and we're just like, how did you do this? Teach us your ways. And like that was like the thing I think Egypt got away with for a long time, is they claimed all of that shit as stuff they built, and built a religion around it, the Egyptian myth secret religion or whatever it is. Like the Masons now practice a version of this fucking religion. It's just about keeping a secret, basically. And the secret is, I think it's all bullshit. They didn't build any of it, so they don't know how it was built. And I think if you get to the high levels of Freemasonry, I think you find that out. And I think it's not that the Freemasons run the world, but they're one of several groups that have ends on everything. I think the true picture of the people that run the world is far more complicated than anyone could imagine. Well, I think that's enough for this video. This was a pretty crazy topic. It's very Giorgio Tsoukalos aliens. But like seriously, there's some shit about us that makes me think that at least someone came from Mars and interbred with fucking, Homo whatevers. If not, maybe life was just entirely seeded here from Mars, like some Mission to Mars type shit. If you've never seen that movie, it's free on YouTube right now. Go check that out. It's a really good space adventure future thing. It was like made in 1999, 2000, and it was set in now, basically, maybe 2030 at the latest. I don't remember what year exactly. It's a good movie, and it's all about some of this shit. And the thing that I think is funny is if you listen to Alex Jones, he says, that movie Mission to Mars, that's all a NASA scientist's favorite movie. And it was one of my favorite movies growing up too, just because I thought the idea was cool. And like the fact that it's all of their favorite movie too, it really makes me wonder. And it's not that they know something, it's that so many smart people like that movie. Why do we all like that movie? It's hitting some sort of chord of truth, maybe. Tell me what you guys think. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe. And hit me up on Patreon. If you like this shit, I'm doing Patreon, and I'm going to be doing different stuff on there at tiers. There's a link in the description. Please do that if you enjoy the show. Thanks for watching.